Chapter 5 Aquatic Earthly Earth Tsunami. Deeply contemplating on what to say at their meeting, Zeus and Gaia indirectly drifted off course, with no one else realizing. Then, all of a sudden, screeching along, Halley's Comet flew straight towards them at approximately 160,000 miles per hour. Trailing the pack and looking all around while admiring our solar system as usual, Aphrodite was the only one to see it. Screaming at the top of her lungs for everyone to watch out, they all instinctively veered out of the way ASAP. Just like a guided missile, this 220 trillion pound fire and ice projectile hit its target. Barely sideswiping everyone, this massive rock spun them all out of control in different directions. Losing control, Zeus quickly headed towards Jupiter. Crash landing on its largest moon, Ganymede, this worried leader walked around and shook off the pain. Feeling extremely embarrassed and very guilty, this failed chaperone knew that he can be in serious trouble if he didn't safely rescue them all as soon as possible. Knowing that this is the climactic turning point of this exploration, this petrified mastermind knew he had to think quick and come up with a plan really fast. Now turning into a search and rescue mission, he knew he had to set up a new headquarters right there and now. Damaged by his crash landing, his scooter didn't function at all. Not knowing how long it would take to fix, he knew it was imperative to contact his colleague Gaia right away. Emailing being his only option, he sent out many to her from his vehicle's equipped handlebar computer. Due to his damaging situation and its sometimes solar interference, their computer signals sometimes get delayed. Meanwhile, as everyone else was bumped off course, Gaia, Aphrodite, Uranus, and Ares were headed towards Earth. With this third planet racing around the sun at about 66,500 miles per hour, they approached the atmosphere of this third planet from the sun. Entering its top layer, known as the exosphere, these four were still out of control. Traveling eastward, they indirectly circumnavigated our almost 25,000-mile-long equator. "Whoa, hold on, Uranus!" Aphrodite bellowed as they continued to spin and roll. "I'm trying to," Uranus shouted with not much confidence. Steadily losing speed due to friction, they also slowly lost altitude. Descending lower into the ionosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, then into the troposphere, they finally ascended down to the ozone layer. Entering Asia, the largest continent by area, Aphrodite headed towards the Himalayan mountain range. Luckily, traveling at only 30 miles per hour, she roughly landed onto this snow-capped peak, which absorbed the impact. Still out of control and sliding on her skateboard, this petrified girl rolled down the snow and ice-filled 29,029-foot hill named Mount Everest. Still screaming while skiing down, her echoes and vibrations triggered a huge avalanche. Trying to hydroplane faster on this frozen surface, this massive white powdered wave was gaining speed. "Quickly, grab my hand!" Gaia screamed. "Got it!" Aphrodite screamed back, just as Gaia pulled her away in time, as this white wall of death came crashing down beside them. Still sliding down, they had the pleasure of viewing the snow geese, snow leopards, goats, woodchucks, black bears, and all the beautiful flora from its majestic scenery. Finally reaching its base and gaining control, they both stopped, laid on their backs in the snow, then gave out a big sigh of relief. "Wow, what an exciting adventure that was!" Gaia laughed hysterically. "I know, it sure was." Aphrodite giggled hard also as she brushed her hair. Suddenly receiving an urgent email on her vehicle's computer, which is alerted by an audible chime, Gaia knew it was a dire message from Zeus. Rushing over to read it, this email basically mentioned that she must find everyone else with his guidance and that he is unable to physically search with her due to being stranded. Traveling in a westward direction for 3,400 miles, they approach this 12 million square miles second largest area continent, currently known as Africa. Narrowing down on their coordinates, they entered its northern half at the Sahara Desert just as a furious sandstorm developed. With the winds picking up speeds to over 50 miles per hour, these two girls had to think very quickly. Having no other choice, they made an emergency landing on a telluric, earthly sand dune. Aphrodite, turn backwards and cover your face to protect it against the storm, Gia commanded firmly. Okay, will do. Aphrodite abided, yelling back necessarily due to the howling winds. Zeus's email directions on my computer showed that Uranos should be straight ahead 1 mile. We must walk instead through the storm to find him, Gia instructed her. Sure, no problem, Aphrodite optimized as they both very carefully descended on foot down this desert's largest dune of over 600 feet. After carefully walking half a mile, this blinding storm finally faded. Now approaching the treacherous 4,100-mile Nile River, they were stunned. Wow, look at that, Gia said amazingly while pointing at its salt water. I'm amazed. Is it some kind of liquid? Aphrodite quivered, for that was the first time they've ever seen this type of liquid. Whoa, Aphrodite, swim faster! A beast is chasing us! Gia screamed horrifyingly as this beastly crocodile paddled closer. Help me, Gia! I can't swim any faster! Aphrodite frantically yelled, maybe uttering her last words, as this amphibious, carnivorous reptile locked its jaws, dragging her below this aquatic surface. With no hope in sight, suddenly its natural foe came to her rescue by nudging this 16-foot, 1,000-pound aggressor, releasing its meal. Floating back to the surface, her mate quickly revived her with CPR. Pursuing its natural enemy, a hippopotamus chased the beast away. Moving along, they resumed their search on this 3.5 million square mile very arid sandy desert. Indirectly viewing the dromedaries, camels, goats, foxes, antelopes, cheetahs, monitor lizards, hyraxes, sandpipers, dogs, and ostriches. They were amazed at these creatures' different shapes, sizes, abilities, and colors. Oh my, what beautiful creatures! Gia expressed excitingly as they slowly walked their mission. Yes, they certainly are, Aphrodite happily agreed. With the mercury rising to its maximum of 120 degrees Fahrenheit, they both decided to rest on an oasis. Phew, I don't look so good after all we've been through, Aphrodite vainly complained. Yeah, I'm tired also. Hopefully Uranos is close by, Gia added. Watch out, Aphrodite! There's a small creature crawling up your arm, Gia suddenly warned. Oh no! Aphrodite yelled back as she quickly brushed off a Deathstalker scorpion right before a possible fatal sting. Once again, very petrified, this duo sprinted away as fast as possible. Very fortunate for Uranos, he saw them running towards his direction. Girls, help me! Uranos shouted as he slowly sank more and more. Hold on, Uranos! Gia hollered as she and Aphrodite rushed over, assessing the situation. Aphrodite, lay down on your stomach next to me and give me your hand, Gia requested as they locked a hand each, making a human chain. Okay, now grab Uranos' hand, Gia added as Aphrodite gripped the entire, losing grip of one finger at a time, until coming down to the last finger. Hold on tight, Aphrodite! Uranos whimpered as he held on for dear life as this unforgiving desert sand continued swallowing him up. I'll just pull myself up, Uranos said as his last finger lost grip, grabbing her arm with his other hand while pulling himself to safety. Whew! They all shouted while laying on their backs, letting out a big sigh of relief. After emailing Zeus a little after this heroic rescue, he sent Gia instructions for their next rescue. Flying true south at 180 degrees, this trio soared off to find Ares. Heading towards the South Pole, 9,000 miles away, approaching their new destination, they flew into a fierce windstorm. "Everyone hold on tight! It is very windy!" Gia shouted nervously as they braved this 200-mile-per-hour windstorm. "Whoa! I'm losing control!" Aphrodite quivered as she descended very rapidly. "I don't think I can handle it," Uranos mentioned doubtfully. Fighting this losing battle, these three all of a sudden crash-landed on an iceberg at a high rate of speed. Running out of space, they slid off this terrestrial earthly ice field and into the freezing Antarctic Ocean. Filled with killer whales, these mammals chased them. Reliving a nightmarish terror, these three swam for dear life. Making it to shore with their vehicles in tow, they frantically caught their breaths, escaping another death-defying event. "Oh, that was too close!" Aphrodite complained hysterically as she quickly tried to groom herself. "I know, but just as long as we all made it to shore safely," Gia mentioned positively. "Wow, this place is so barren. Looks like we're in the middle of nowhere," Uranos griped as they all looked at this icy and snowy territory for as long as the eye could see. Taking a quick recess, they then flew very low over this continent. Having difficulty judging height due to the covered snow, known as whiteout, they had to look for Ares. Approaching his estimated whereabouts, they spotted him in the icy waters. Found unconscious and laying on top, his skateboard acted as a life-saving flotation device. Pulling him out safely on land, they all brought him back to consciousness. "Wow, I must have been knocked out after my unsafe approach," Ares mentioned, unscathed. "Well, we're all just glad that you are all right," Gia admitted as everyone else agreed. Following proper procedure once again, Gia sent Zeus the good news proclaiming another successful rescue. So then, immediately being summoned to the North Pole by their male leader, these four immediately departed our world's largest desert. While taking off for their next destination, Gia was the only one to feel a slight tremor. Thinking nothing of it, she resumed her lead. While looking back at the seals, penguins, and giant snow petrel birds, they were all amazed with these habitant creatures. Not paying attention due to sightseeing, they almost ran into Vinson Massif. At 16,000 feet, this continent's largest mountain is Earth's third highest point. Thinking nothing of this close encounter, they all resumed their journey as usual. En route to the North Pole, Ares unexpectedly developed mechanical trouble. "Uh-oh, I think I'm having a slight problem," Ares mentioned as his skateboard intermittently sputtered. "Okay, let's find a place to land so we can take a look at it," Gia ordered as they all slowed down looking for land. Having already flown 7,500 miles from Antarctica, Hawaii seemed to be non-violent, so Gia instructed everyone to follow her for an emergency landing on this paradisical archipelago. Selecting its largest island, also named Hawaii, they all touched down on its 4,000 square mile surface. "I think I just have to adjust something on my skateboard to fix it," Ares admitted, feeling a little guilty. "Wow, look at those beautiful winged creatures," Aphrodite mentioned with amazement as she pointed to some of the multi-vibrant colored tropical parrots, macaws, and parakeets. "Oh yes, and so aren't they?" Gia added by also pointing at the exotic ducks, geese, swan, turkeys, partridges, quail, albatrosses, hawks, eagles, doves, owls, and other native birds. "I hope they don't attack by pecking and clawing at us." Uranos shivered cowardly, as usual. I am going to tour these islands for a few minutes. Can everyone just wait here and help Ares repair? Gia asked. As they all unanimously agreed, she thought it would be fun to use Aphrodite's skateboard for the first time as a change. Circling around the 6 other main islands, she quickly observed Oahu, Kauai, Keho, Alawi, and Lanai. Deciding to enter Maui, she wanted to sightsee. Built on volcanoes, this lone tourist had to be careful on its largest major island. With its mouth slowly drooling out 2100-degree hot fluorescent orange lava, Gia viewed it as spectacular. After this fantastic liquefying show, she decided to go back to her group. Taking her time, she flew very low above the ocean, enjoying its massive salty waves. Not knowing that the little tremor Gia felt back near the South Pole would lead to an underwater earthquake, causing an aquatic earthly tsunami, this petrified leader saw it advancing towards her. Racing at 500 miles per hour, the 200-foot-high liquid wall of destruction roared closer and closer. Swallowing her up, this victim quickly emerged to the top of this tidal wave. Stalling out the motor, this first-time surfer had to quickly use her skateboard as a surfboard instead. Learning to balance on this killer wave, this novice surfer tried unsuccessfully to revive the drowned motor. Very fortunately, starting it on her 3rd attempt, this heroine flew away very fast to warn these potential tsunamic victims. "Everyone fly to higher ground now!" Gia screamed the loudest anyone had ever heard. "Okay!" They all shouted in unison, then followed her, except for Ares. "I'm leaving right now!" Ares yelled obediently as the last one to depart due to a final repair. Following Gia's lead, trusting her with their lives, this escort safeguarded them all to the summit of Mauna Kea. Peaking at 16,000 feet above sea level, this world's 3rd highest point provided safe harbor. Crashing through on the side of the mountain at a much lower altitude, the survivors horribly witnessed what this violent watery phenomenon actually wiped out. Panting heavily for a few minutes, they all resumed their North Pole flight, 4,800 miles away. Finally reaching their last earthly destination, Zeus explained to the gang that Selene crash-landed on this planet's moon. So with not much time to spare, he quickly positioned Gia to stand exactly on the North Pole. Knowing that our planet is tilted at 23.45 degrees, Zeus quickly estimated the direction and angle to locate the Copernicus crater to find Selene. At only 2,159 miles wide, our sole satellite moon is only 1/4 the diameter of Earth. With its average distance of 238,855 miles away, Gia knew this would be a short flight. Locking all the visuals in her mind, this fearless commander mustered up all her troops, then headed out for this next very important adventure.